Chapter 1380. The Liu family's drama too. This group of young ladies had been unwilling to lose weight, but after hearing Feng Ruking's words, they felt touched and quickly nodded. Thank you for reminding us, Princess. We will lose weight. Paramount here just happened to have herbs that could help us lose weight. I even heard that the princess has deep connections with Paramount, so it will be like supporting the princess. Feng Ruqing was speechless. When she planned to have these young women lose weight, she had never thought of something like this. However, compared to Paramount's revenue, she rather hoped that these girls would not be so easily affected by her words. Oh, and Feng Ruqing emphasized, Chainer is my younger brother, the prince of Liu Yun Kingdom. No one is to be disrespectful to him. She had the tendency to protect the weak. Even if these young ladies were adorable and pretty in her eyes, her biological brother was more important. Feng Qin said nothing as he pursed his lips, staring straight at Feng Ruqing. The feeling of being protected by her was really nice. The chubby young lady was stunned at first before finally noticing Feng Qin. She quickly kneeled down, feeling ashamed. I am sorry, please forgive me, Your Majesty. I was too anxious to meet the princess. I wasn't rude on purpose. The others all calmed down as well. They have already heard about the prince's return to Liu Yun Kingdom recently. The elders and their families, too, were trying to make them the prince's consorts. However, what they never imagined was that this prince was the young man who once followed the princess around and was even called a gigolo by Liu Yuchen. Fate was really a peculiar thing. Most of the girls here were daughters of the ministers from the imperial court. Hence, they had seen Feng Ruqing for quite a number of times and could recognize Feng Qin. So, he and the princess are siblings. Back then, I heard that it was the princess who had knocked him unconscious and dragged him back. After that, the illicit couple, Liu Yuchen and Tan Shuangshuang, had spread rumors about the princess having found a gigolo. But they are clearly blood-related siblings. So, it is a given the princess would bring the prince back the moment she saw him. I wonder if Liu Yuchen feels ashamed now. Feng Ruqing was speechless. Blood-related? Me for extra chapters. It was because Chainer looked like her little brother in the past life that the moment she saw him, she could not leave him alone and had to bring him back. Who knew that their fate in the past life had not ended yet and that they could still be siblings in this life. You girls go ahead. Chainer, let's go and visit Jiuming. Okay. Feng Qin smiled and followed after Feng Ruqing as they entered the building. In an obscure corner inside Paramount, Liu Yuchen's gaze never left Feng Ruqing. His line of sight then slowly fell to focus on the girl's barely visible stomach before taking a large mouthful of wine. The strong alcohol stung his organs. This was the only way he could numb himself, to reduce the pain. 3 years ago, everyone had hated Feng Ruqing. She was fat and ugly, unwilling to learn or practice anything. She was arrogant and self-indulgent, lacking intelligence. He thought he had made the right decision by choosing Tan Shuangshuang over a girl like her and had tossed the latter away without a second thought. He only had eyes for Tan Shuangshuang. 3 years later, this girl was now someone else's wife. She was not only elegant and talented, she was intelligent and smart, but her heart no longer belonged to him. So, after seeing her one last time, he knew he should get going. Before anyone noticed, Paramount's manager had come up to Liu Yuchen. When the manager saw how decadent the man had become, he smiled coldly. Young Master Liu, in the whole of Liu Yun Kingdom, only our Paramount would allow you entry now. Do you know why? Chapter 1381. The Liu family's drama 3, because our young master has instructed us to so that you can see for yourself what kind of young lady you have given up on. I know you're in pain and regret, but nothing can help you now. Even if you did not give her up, did you think that our Paramount's master would have eyes for a tramp like you now? Paramount's master? Liu Yuchen looked up at the manager, lost. It was only known that Feng Ruqing had deep connections with Paramount, but to be Paramount's master, what was going on? You will never know everything she owns. She was once our young master's important guest and now Paramount's master. The spirit herb dishes here are all supplied by her. Her mother is the master of Fengyan Manor, her fiancé is young master Nancian of Tianshan Manor, and her admirer is the master's daughter of Tianshan Manor. How could an insignificant person like you even begin to compete with these people? The manager's every sentence was like a needle, viciously stabbed into Lu Yuchen's heart. He laughed out loud, his voice laced with madness. However, he said nothing. He took the bottle of wine with him and left. He should have left long ago, but he still wanted to see her one last time. Just this one look was good enough for him. After all, he was the one who had mistaken a pearl for a fishball and lost her forever. At Paramount, in a luxurious suite room, a man lay in bed. Sunlight poured through the windows, illuminating his handsome face. His mask had already been tossed away, and the lightning mark below his eye gave off a bizarre aura. His purple long robes swayed gently in the breeze, increasing his devilish charms and exuberance. Even if the man was only laying down, he still carried an air of malevolence and dominance.
Creak.
The door was pushed open and a young woman stepped in. Her red dress swayed gently, while her beauty could bring cities to their knees. Me for extra chapters. Feng Chen followed quietly behind her, step by step like a little follower. Jiuming. Feng Ruqing walked over to the bed and sat down next to it. She then said helplessly, I know you have saved me and I should be taking care of you, but I cannot put you in the princess manor. You know that I only have handmaidens and spirit beasts in my manor, and they won't be able to take good care of you. So I had Paramount take you in. I definitely didn't do this because I was afraid you'd seduce the state preceptor. The person on the bed did not answer her. The empty room was silent. The state preceptor and I will be getting married soon. Even though you tried to snatch the state preceptor from me, you and I have known each other for so many years, so we're still considered friends. That's why I hope you can attend our ceremony when that day comes. Jiuming was still quiet. There was no response. Concern flashed in Feng Ruqing's eyes. Fu Chun, even you can't tell what's going on with Jiuming? How will he be able to wake up? Mother, after a moment, Fu Chen's voice rang from within the medium. I have no idea either. We can only wait for him to wake up by himself. But once he woke up, would he still be the Jiuming they all knew? Or would he become someone else? That was still a mystery. 3 months. I hope in these 3 months, Jiuming will wake up. The state preceptor had suggested 3 months because a wedding would require a lot of time for preparation. Her suggestion for 3 months, however, was not only to be in sync with the state preceptor, but also with hopes that Jiuming could attend the wedding ceremony. She wanted Jiuming to watch the state preceptor marry her with his own eyes. That way, he could give up completely and stop thinking about her state preceptor. Chapter 1382, The Lu Family's Drama 4, Chena. Let's go back. We'll visit him again tomorrow. Feng Ruqing stood up to leave. Before she left, she looked back at Jiuming with worry in her eyes. The wedding was to be held 3 months later. As Feng Ruqing was the princess of Lu Yun Kingdom and Feng Tianyu's treasure, this wedding was to be celebrated nationwide. Even the minor criminals like snatch thieves and robbers were let out early due to this celebration. While it was a joyous celebration, Feng Tianyu's heart was aching with pain. He could not win against his daughter, so not only did he have to host her wedding, he even had to make it grand. Compared to the cheerful atmosphere in the palace, Lu Manor seemed to be covered in dark clouds. After Lu Yuchen had said those words to Lady Lai the other day, he had never returned home, leaving her to suffer Lu Fuyong's violence on her own in that house. On that fateful day, just after Lu Fuyong had beaten up Lady Lu until she was black and blue all over, there was a knock on the door. He was first stunned before regaining his senses to go over and open the door. Standing outside were 2 men dressed in luxurious brocades. The 2 men had strong and domineering auras like huge mountains and vast oceans. Lu Fuyong could hardly breathe properly in their presence. Sirs, Lu Fuyong had the tendency to bully the weak but fear the strong. After seeing these 2 men, he felt anxious. May I know what business you have? One of the men dragged out a girl from behind them and tossed her in front of Lu Fuyong. He asked coldly, Do you know her? Lu Fuyong lowered his gaze at the girl before him. He was first stunned before answering. She is my concubine, Tan Shuang, who has been missing for 2 years now. Thank you for bringing her back. Lu Fuyong let out a quiet sigh of relief. He was already sick of facing that haggard old woman every day, so it was great that Tan Shuang had returned. Oh, as long as she belongs to you. And this is your son here. The guard then pulled out a child of about a year old from behind him and pushed him to Lu Fuyong. Me for extra chapters. Lu Fuyong was stunned. This surprise was so sudden that he could not react. A child? I have another child, haha. May I know where you kind gentlemen are from? I will most definitely make both of you my honored guests. At that moment, Lu Fuyong did not notice the fear in Tan Shuang's eyes, nor how the little boy's whole body was trembling. He only knew that after losing Lu Yuchen, he had now gained a son, which meant that the heavens did not want him to be without descendants. There's no need to. I still have to return to my master. It was our master who has ordered us to send her back here. The guard looked indifferent and distant. May I know who is your master? Lu Fuyong asked carefully. The guard answered blankly, the Mu family of Tianshan Manor. Tianshan Manor? Lu Fuyong was ecstatic and looked up at the two men. Shuang has actually met nobles like the people of Tianshan Manor after leaving us. They even had someone to send her home, so they must have good relations. Ha ha ha. To think that I, Lu Fuyong, would still have the opportunity to rise above again. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you so much. Both of you are the benefactors of the Lu family. Would I have the opportunity to pay the Mu family's master a visit? So as to admire the master of the Mu family up close. As a guard of the Mu family, he had encountered too many sycophantic people like Lu Fuyong. Hence, he only gave the latter a cold smile in response. Chapter 1383. The Lu family's drama v. Haven't you already met the people of the Mu family? And you've met quite a few of them. Lu Fuyong was stunned. He stared at the guard, looking lost. The guard smiled coldly and said, the state preceptor of Lu Yun Kingdom is the Mu family's young master, Nan Xian. His mother is previously the lady of the Mu family, but is now the adopted daughter of our master. The Princess Feng Ruching of Lu Yun Kingdom is young master Nan Xian's fiancée, the granddaughter-in-law of our master. Like a bolt from the blue, Lu Fuyong was dumbstruck. Even Lady Lu, who had just come out, was stunned as well. A chill ran through her body. She felt cold all over and could barely stand still. The state preceptor was the young master of the Mu family? Impossible. That was impossible. Lady Lu clenched her fists tightly to keep herself conscious. She recalled how just a few days ago, she was trying to get Yuchen to sleep with Feng Ruching. Her whole body started to shiver. Lady Lu did not dare to imagine that if Yuchen had really gone and violated the princess, what would have become of the Lu family? She thanked the heavens that Yuchen had been strong-willed and did not do as she had said. Otherwise, Nan Xian would not have let the Lu family off so easily. By now, Lady Liu's face had turned pale, but she felt fortunate. Oh, and the guard paused to glance disdainfully at Tan Shuang. Tan Shuang has been a concubine to the Mu family's master for a year. Lu Fuyong's expression went stiff. He finally shifted his eyes over to Tan Shuang, who looked battered from torture. Even though Tan Shuang was in a relationship with Lu Yuchen, nothing had ever happened between them. They had never made it to the last base, which was why Lu Fuyong was tempted by her. And Lu Fuyong had misophobia. He could never tolerate his woman ever being a plaything to other people. What did you just say? Lu Fuyong was trembling, his eyes were red. Tan Shuang was pregnant with your child, but she then eyed our young master because of his noble status and had used your child to frame him, making our young master raise your child for a whole year, the guard said coldly. But this Tan Shuang didn't know what's good for her and tried to slander Miss Feng. Our master treasures his granddaughter-in-law very much, so how could he allow this woman to continue to stay in the Mu family? Forget her. Even our young master has been chased out of the house, so, he paused before continuing to say, Our master has ordered us to send Tan Shuang and her child back to you. Tan Shuang's eyes were filled with fear. Me for extra chapters. Chapter 1384. The Liu family's drama 6. If anyone were to look closely, they would notice that there was no spark in the little boy's eyes. Instead, he looked dazed and lost. The guards watched the Liu family's drama unfold before them with cold eyes. Reluctant to stay any longer, they turned to leave. If it were not for their lord's instructions to ensure that Tan Shuang faced dire consequences, the guard would not have told Liu Fuyong so much. He only pitied that child. That child was innocent, but to be born to such a mother might have just ruined his whole life. This drama from the Liu family did not cause any public disturbance, especially for the people in the Princess Manor who were busy with wedding preparations. No one had the time to pay any attention to the Liu family. At the Princess Manor, Qingling stared pitifully at Feng Ruqing with her watery, doe eyes. Princess, have we done something wrong? Why are you asking Lu Li and me to leave? If we've done something wrong, we can change. Please don't chase us away. Feng Ruqing let out a soft sigh and patted Qingling on the head. I want to send you girls to the iron-blooded troops for training. You girls are so much stronger now, and staying at the Princess Manor would be a waste of your talents. I just want you girls to nurture your abilities. That's right, I'm definitely not being petty about monthly expenses. But if we leave, who will serve the princess? Qingling was reluctant to leave. Don't worry, the state preceptor will take care of me. Moreover, I have so many spirit beast servants, so I'll be okay. Qingling wanted to say something else, but Lu Li tugged at her sleeve. The princess is right. If we want to serve the princess forever, we have to train. If we keep planting flowers and take care of little animals in the Princess Manor, we won't have any better future. If we don't want the princess to leave us behind, we have to improve ourselves, just like Commander Tangzi. Lu Li looked resolute, and her eyes were sparkling. Qingling then swallowed back her words and said, All right then. I'll come back to take care of the little princess once she is born. Upon hearing this, Feng Ruqing said nothing but pat Qingling on the shoulder. Go on, I've already arranged everything for you too. Tangzi will assign you your tasks. Oh, right. There are now men in the iron-blooded troops, so both of you can start planning your futures. Can I choose to reject this idea?
No.
The state preceptor has said that both of you are no longer young, and it's time for you girls to marry. Qingling and Lu Li were both speechless. Me for extra chapters.
Bastard.
Your Highness, I'll be back soon. Qingling stared longingly at Feng Ruqing before she was dragged away by Lu Li. The princess was now hoodwinked by a man. Once they had improved their abilities, they would definitely be able to return to the princess. At the same time in Deity's Gate, Jiuyu was anxious as he sat in his chair. He felt like he was sitting on needles as his eyes were filled with panic. Father is dead, brother is dead too. Oh no! It is over for Deity's Gate. Feng Ruqing did not allow him to take even one step out of Deity's Gate. But he was also afraid that she would come here to take his life. Just then, a silhouette of an aged man could be seen walking in. He had one hand behind him and a proud face. When Jiuyu looked up and saw that familiar old face, he was surprised. Father. Yet soon after he called out, he came to a realization, and his face instantly paled. Panic started to kick in.
No.
This isn't right. Father is dead. This is the person who has possessed Father's body. Chapter 1385. The Liu family's drama 7. Why did he come to Deity's Gate? Jiuming stood up nervously. What did you come here for? Hu Qing let out a cold snort. I'm looking for a place to rest, to train, so I can kill the 9th emperor. Jiuyu was stunned. How did you get in here? Oh, a bunch of people saw me, called me Gate Master, and then let me in. This place has great scenery and dense spiritual qi, so I thought I'd come here to recuperate. Who knew that this is the nest of this old man? Hu Qing's face was filled with mockery as he said that. Jiuyu's breath got caught in his throat. He had forgotten the fact that this man was currently using his father's body, and the people of Deity's Gate did not know what had happened during the assembly, so they would of course let him in. At the thought of this, Jiu became more anxious. Since you took my father's body, and I am his son, as a favor to my father, could you not harm me? I don't want to die yet. Hu Qing looked at Jiu with disdain. How could someone from the mainland be so afraid of death? They were even the strongest faction of this mainland. Don't worry, her enemy is my ally. Our hatred for each other can never be resolved until the other is dead. Hu Qing said through gritted teeth. Jiu was puzzled. Why did this man hate Feng Ruqing so much? Could she have murdered his whole family? Why else would he hold such a grudge against her if not for that? That woman, where is she? Hu Qing narrowed his eyes and asked in a cold voice. Jiu was stunned before realizing that Hu Qing must have meant Feng Ruqing. You mean Feng Ruqing? She's the princess of Lu Yun Kingdom. In 3 months, she will be having her wedding ceremony with Nan Xian. Sir, Jiu felt a little awkward addressing this man as sir. After all, this man was in his father's physical body, but Hu Qing seemed to mind being in this aged body very much. His real self must be a lot younger than this shell, so Jiu could only address him that way. Sure enough, after hearing Jiu call him that, Hu Qing's expression mellowed and the contempt in his eyes reduced when he looked at Jiu. Me for extra chapters. Wedding? That girl is getting married? To the man whose abilities are below mine but defeated me with secret methods? Hu Qing's expression was filled with pride. He would never admit that he had lost that day. That bastard must have used some secret methods to defeat him, and it was definitely not because his own abilities were below anyone else. The enemy was just too cunning. No. Oh, no matter who it is, I won't let her have peaceful days. A cold glint sparked in Hu Qing's eyes. That bastard of a 9th emperor had once kidnapped his fiancée, so now he would not let her marry as easily she wished to. In the past life, all women were very fond of the 9th emperor. However, in this life, a woman has tried to murder her. For example, that woman, Qin Fair. It seems like the 9th emperor of this life isn't as popular as she once was. At the thought of that, Hu Qing felt a lot better and was pleased with himself. A smile even appeared on his face. Prepare a place for me to recuperate. In 3 months, I will have the 9th emperor leave empty-handed. Jiu was dumbstruck. He can't be thinking of kidnapping the state preceptor, is he? To make Feng Ruqing go through with the wedding on her own? And draw a portrait of what her fiancé looks like. Jiu wasted no time in delays and pulled out a portrait from his sleeve before ceremoniously handing it over to Hu Qing. Hu Qing looked doubtful. You have a man's portrait with you all the time? Is this old man's son that sick? Chapter 1386. The Lu family's drama 8. Jiu's face changed dramatically. Earlier, it was our Deity's Gate's disciples who were peeking at this painting, so I took it away. But Master Hu Qing came before I could destroy it. Hu Qing responded unconcernedly as his eyes carefully observed the painting. It was a painting of a perfect couple. The young woman was gorgeous and magnificent, but it made Hu Qing's eyes burn with anger. The man's robe was as white as snow. He looked cool and elegant. Hu Qing frowned. This kid, Master Hu Qing, you know him? More than just knowing. Hu Qing gritted his teeth. His future wife had run away with the 9th emperor, and he had sought to go look for the 9th emperor to settle the score with her. It was this bastard who had stopped him. He had not only beaten him up but had also stripped him naked and sent him to a brothel. It was such an embarrassment. So, they want to get married? Forget it. He would never make it easy for these two bastards. Hu Qing tore the painting into tiny pieces and scattered it to the wind. What's your names? Hu Qing looked down at Jiu condescendingly. Jiu's face was full of flattering smiles. My name is Jiu. Jiu. A coward, but has such a name. It's all right. If you serve me well, you will naturally get the benefits, and I will also help you kill all your enemies together. Initially, Jiu's smile was about to fade as he heard Hu Qing's words. But the next sentence had made him hold back his anger, and smiled even more. "Thank you, Master Hu Qing." Hu Qing nodded slightly. He looked very satisfied. "There should be a few female disciples in Deity's Gate. Find a few of the most beautiful ones and send them to my room." Jiuyu was stunned. There was no harm in sending a few female disciples, but Hu Qing was now using his father's body. Even though his father was also a lustful man, he would not have touched his own disciples to avoid reputation damage. Hu Qing would ruin his father's reputation if he did this using his father's body. Jiuyu suddenly regained his senses. After all, his father was already dead, and what reputation would a dead man care about? Me for extra chapters. Now, guarding Deity's Gate himself was the most important thing that he had to do. "Yes, Master Hu Qing. I'll take care of it for you later." Jiuyu paused and said, "But can I still call you father in front of these people? I don't want any people in Deity's Gate to find out about it." "No," Hu Qing frowned. "I don't care about them. I have sufficient power to make them succumb. Go and choose a female disciple for me immediately." "Yes, Master Hu Qing." Jiuyu kept a smile the whole time. Only after he walked out of the main hall did his face immediately sink. In all these years, he had never been humiliated like this before. Now, he had to grovel to others for his safety. He would not have been so miserable if his father was still alive. And all of this was because of Jiuming and Feng Ruqing. He would never let them go. Jiuyu took a deep breath as he looked at the old man in the main hall. He then turned around, and his figure gradually disappeared under the bright sunlight. But no matter how bright the sunlight was, it could not dispel the gloom in his heart. However, Jiuyu understood that he only had to stay hidden now, and later, he would have the chance to live a new life again. Inside the main hall, Hu Qing turned around, and his cold and arrogant eyes were staring in the direction in which Jiuyu had disappeared. He sneered. He knew that this brat was only pretending to submit himself. But it was fine because he only needed someone to work for him for now. Hu Qing did not care whether that person was truly submissive to him or not. The obedient ones will stay, and the disobedient ones, it'll just kill them. Chapter 1387. Wedding Eve. 3 months passed by with a snap of the fingers. The street of Lu Yun Kingdom was crowded with people, muttering to one another. Skilled masters from everywhere all came for the wedding ceremony. Fu Chen walked behind little Qing Han with a smile on his face. He had not even taken his eyes off of Qing Han's body. Right at this moment, a figure suddenly leaped out, reached out his demonic hand, and tried to grab Qing Han. Little Qing Han was still unaware of anything else going on around her as her eyes were drawn to some odd toys in front of her, not knowing that someone had reached out to grab her. Fu Chen's face changed dramatically as he rushed forward. The man in front of him had apparently spotted Fu Chen. He sneered as he turned around and hit Fu Chen in the chest with his fists, sending Fu Chen flying back and landing on the ground in a pile. Qing Han eventually sensed the movement behind her. She turned around and saw that Fu Chen had fallen on the ground. Her eyes turned red, and her voice cracked. "Brother Fu Chen." In the princess manner. A man in a white robe smiled faintly as his gaze fixed on the young girl standing among the beasts, not far away. His cold eyes were filled with a gentle light, as if the girl in front of him was his whole world. Suddenly, a cold breath came from behind him, causing his face to darken slightly. Qingzhu poked out its small head. "Master, let's go." Nan Xian picked up Qingzhu. He looked at Feng Ruqing once again before turning back and heading out of the princess manor. Me for extra chapters. Nan Xian gradually stopped in his tracks on a desolate road outside the manor. Standing in front of him was a middle-aged man. The man had a cold smile on his face and was looking at Nan Xian arrogantly. "Master Nan Xian of Tianshan Manor, how did you find me?" The middle-aged man did not run away, but instead looked at Nan Xian mockingly. Nan Xian was expressionless. "Your scent is totally different from Qing'er's. I'm not stupid, I can notice it." "Oh," the middle-aged man sneered. "Then, why didn't you attack me at the princess manor?" Nan Xian calmly said, There are still 3 days left before my wedding with Chinger. I have spent 3 months preparing for this wedding, so I won't allow anyone to upset her during this period.
Ha ha ha.
The middle-aged man laughed wildly and mockingly. Master Nansien of Tianshan Manor. My master has said that he wants Master Nansien to be a guest at Deity's Gate. What if I refuse? Master Nansien, the middle-aged man sneered. Do you remember those 2 little kids who are always by Feng Ruking's side? One seems to be named Fu Chun and the other one is Qing Han. If you don't come with us, I'm afraid that these 2 little kids will lose their lives. A cold light flashed in Nanxian's eyes, and the wind around him grew stronger, making the entire sky seem a bit windy and cold. So, Deity's Gate wants to kill Chinger's peoples? A storm suddenly surged out and lifted his white robe as he walked toward the middle-aged man. Who gave you the nerve to touch them? Chapter 1388. Wedding Eve 2. The middle-aged man looked at Nansien expressionlessly and said coldly, Master Nansien must come with us if you want these 2 little kids to be safe. Spiritual chi gathered in Nansien's palm as he raised his hand, and with a loud bang, the middle-aged man's body suddenly flew away and fell into a corner as he spurted a mouthful of blood. The middle-aged man sneered, Master Nansien, it's useless for you to attack me now. Those 2 little things have probably already fallen into my master's hands. If you are late, I'm afraid he will kill them. Nansien's expression was indifferent as his cold eyes stared hard at the man in front of him. Where are they? Take me there now. The middle-aged man wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. Master Nansien, this way, please. The man probably knew that he could not beat Nansien, so his tone was much more polite than before. However, the sarcasm on his face did not disappear at all, and his eyes were filled with mockery. The streets. The crowd scattered as far away as they could get. Their eyes were filled with panic as they looked at the old man who came out of nowhere. Fu Chun had fallen to the ground, blood seeping through his robe. He slowly tried to stand up and stabilize himself. Just a moment ago, he was only a little child, but now his body had changed, and he looked like a teenager. The only thing that remained the same was his young face. He showed no fear, and his eyes were filled with stubbornness. Brother Fu Chun. Tears flowed from little Qing Han's eyes as she looked at Fu Chun, who was covered in blood. Her eyes gradually turned red. Countless vines suddenly emerged from beneath her feet and rushed toward Hu Qing. Hu Qing turned abruptly when the vines almost came in contact with him. Countless blades of light flashed from around him, and in an instant, all the vines disappeared. Only bits and pieces of vines were left on the ground. Fu Chun supported himself and stood up. Blood trickled from the corner of his mouth. Qing Han, go. Get out of here. Qing Han did not say anything. Her eyes were bloodshot as her body rose in the air. She looked at Hu Qing with her cold, expressionless gaze. Don't bully Brother Fu Chun's. Brother Fu Chun is mine. No one can bully him. Me for extra chapters. Anyone who bullied Brother Fu Chun deserves to die. The gale rose lifted little Qing Han's skirt. Her long hair fluttered in the wind, and her face was pale. Qing Han. Fu Chun's face grew more anxious as he coughed out a mouthful of blood and gritted his teeth. Run. Get out of here and go back to father, quick. Unfortunately, it was too late. Hu Qing clearly showed an interest in Qing Han. He smiled grimly. Just now, this brat has interrupted me and tried to attack me. I was going to capture him, but now it seems that if I take you away, it might be more heartbreaking for them. The 9th Emperor loved little girls back then. In a flash, Hu Qing had leaped in front of Qing Han. His face looked pale, and his gaze was cold and arrogant while his white robe and white hair fluttered in the wind. He smiled evilly as he tried to grab Qing Han to his side. Countless vines rose again, like claws and teeth, headed toward Hu Qing. It was as if there were eyes on Hu Qing's back as he casually threw his sword out and cut off all the vines. Pieces of broken vines fell to the ground. Qing Han. Fu Chun tried to catch her, but he was clearly a bit weak and fell back to the ground after just taking a few steps. Chapter 1389. Wedding Eve. 3 more blood dripped down his chest, staining his robe red. Run, Qing Han. You have to run. The young man's voice was hoarse, and his whole body was trembling. The entire street had somehow become silent. Fu Chen's eyes widened as he saw Hu Qing was already in front of Qing Han and threw her into the medium. He was so anxious that he spat out a mouthful of blood. His eyes were bloodshot. Give Qing Han back to me. Give her back to me. He did not know how, but somehow, he found the strength to leap into the void and rushed toward Hu Qing. He only knew that he must not let anyone take Qing Han away from him. Never. Hu Qing looked at Fu Chen disdainfully. He raised his hand, and a powerful force suddenly surged from his palm, instantly causing Fu Chen, who was high in the void, to fall to the street. Go back and tell her that I'm here for revenge. There's no way I'm going to give this little kid back to her. Brother Fu Chen. Qing Han watched Fu Chen fall straight from the sky. She anxiously tried to reach out and grab Fu Chen, but it was too far away for her to reach him. I'm sorry, Brother Fu Chen. This old man obviously came to take revenge on her mother. If he had to take one person with him, then she would rather be that person. At least, Brother Fu Chen was stronger than her. He could stay by her mother's side and help her. Fu Chen was falling from the sky. He stretched out his hand, trying to grasp the small hand in front of him. But he could not pull her to his side, as usual. All things that had happened in these few years flashed through his mind. Slowly, Fu Chen's eyes closed, and he drifted away. Thousands of years ago, he and Qing Han were just 2 spirit herbs that grew up together. The 9th emperor had brought them back, watered them with spirit water, and raised them well. Fu Chen and Qing Han had become completely dependent on each other and had stayed together for 1,000 years. Me for extra chapters. But now, he could only watch Qing Han being taken away helplessly. His hatred grew, causing the energy around him to surge like a windstorm. No matter who that person was, he would definitely not let him go if he had done something to Qing Han. Fu Chen opened his eyes wide. He felt a hand reached out from the side and pulling him, not letting him fall to the ground. Now, standing in front of him was a stunning man in a robe that was as white as snow. The man's face was expressionless, and his tone was cold as he said, "It will be my wedding ceremony with Qing in 5 days. Go back and tell Qing that I will return with Qing Han in 5 days. Don't worry, just wait for me at home." He had waited too long for this day, so he would never allow anyone to ruin his wedding ceremony. But it'll come back. That's my promise to her. It'll come back with Qing Han in 5 days. Fu Chen was about to say something, but he held it back after he saw the determination on the man's face. All right. He believed in him. In 5 days, Nan Xian would definitely return, bringing Qing Han with him. Mother is waiting for you at home, and I'm waiting for Qing Han, so you must come back. Mother has been waiting for this day for a long time. Nan Xian was silent. He and Qing had waited a long time. 5 days. He would keep his promise to her. Chapter 1390. Wedding Eve. 4. Since this person from Deity's Gate wanted to ruin their wedding, he would definitely not let him off. Nan Xian had stopped talking and walked away, leaving Fu Chen alone. Fu Chen did not follow him. He turned around and walked toward the Princess Manor. Someone must have reported to his mother about what had happened just now. He should trust Nan Xian and listen to him. After all, his mother was still waiting for him at home. Inside the Princess Manor, a figure hurriedly ran into the courtyard. He ran so fast that he almost fell to the ground. "Princess, something bad has happened. Young Lady Qing Han and Master Fu Chen are being attacked outside the city." Feng Ruqing was holding a teacup in her hand. She was smiling happily, elegantly sipping the spiritual tea. But the panicked voice had made her fingers stiffen. She crushed the teacup in her hand, fiercely. The hot tea fell and splashed on the back of her hand. She was not even aware of such a painful sensation. "What did you just say?" Feng Ruqing stood up swiftly, Her face darkened. Where are Qing Han and Fu Chen now? It was reasonable to say that no one in Luoyuan Kingdom could beat these two little kids. And the other sects in the reclusive world would not dare to touch her people. Therefore, there was only one possibility.
Hu Qing.
That bastard. How dare he come to Luoyuan Kingdom and touch my people? In the street in front of the city. As soon as the guard's words came, Feng Ruqing quickly rushed out and accidentally bumped into Tang Yin, who had just walked in. Feng Ruqing did not bring Tang Yin with her when she went to the Divine Herb Sect Assembly to settle accounts. But now that she was holding a wedding ceremony, Nailan Yen had asked Elder Lei Yun to bring someone from Fengyan Manor to attend the ceremony. Tang Yin, who was a guest in Fengyan Manor, naturally followed them back. Me for extra chapters. Xiaoqing? Tang Yin was confused, not knowing why Feng Ruqing was so anxious. But just as Feng Ruqing was about to walk out of the manor's gate, a young and tender voice came from the front. Mother. The young man stood in the doorway, covered in blood, and looking so miserable. His hair was messy as he stood in front of Feng Ruqing with his lips slightly pursed. Tang Yin stared at him, her eyes wide. Xiaoqing, when did you have such a big son? Feng Ruqing was speechless. She did not have time to pay attention to Tang Yin. She held the young man's shoulder and asked anxiously, Fu Chen, what happened? Who hurt you like this, and why did you come back alone? Where's Qing Han? Fu Chen? Tang Yin was stunned. Wasn't Fu Chen a little kid? How did he grow so big overnight? Fu Chen's eyes darkened slightly, but he still managed to reveal a smile. Mother, don't worry. Father has gone to look for Qing Han. He will return in 5 days. Nan Xian was a powerful man, so he believed that he would bring back Qing Han. Fu Chen, tell me the truth. Is it Hu Qing? Feng Ruqing's face was cold, and her body was cold, too. Fu Chen knew that he could not hide it and nodded slightly. He won't be a match for father. They will definitely return in 5 days. Seeing the expression on Feng Ruqing's face, Fu Chen paused for a while and continued, Mother, father also said that Hu Qing did this to take revenge on you and ruin your wedding ceremony, so you must be calm and wait for them to return. Chapter 1391. Wedding Eve. No one knew how much he wanted to follow Nan Xian to save Qing Han at that moment, but he knew that he had to stay in the Princess Manor to appease his mother. He must also restrain his anger and anxieties. All right. Feng Ruqing loosened her fists and turned around slowly. The breeze drifted over her, lifting her dress and her long, fine hair. For a moment, Fu Chen could not even see the expression on Feng Ruqing's face. Mother. Fu Chen walked toward Feng Ruqing and gently hugged her from behind. I'm sorry, I couldn't protect Qing Han. Feng Ruqing was silent for a long time. It was only after half a moment that she gradually turned around and pulled Fu Chen into her arms. I'm sure Nan Xian will come back, and Qing Han will follow him back. So all I can do now is wait here for him to come home.
Hu Qing.
A cold light flashed in her eyes. Wolfie. She let go of Fu Chen and looked at the snow wolf coldly. Send spirit beasts to guard the city gates. Hu Qing wants to attack Nan Xian and me, then I will not let him leave Luoyuan Kingdom this easy. The snow wolf tilted its head and stared at Feng Ruqing blankly. Feng Ruqing remained cold. Pay attention to the people from Deity's Gate, whoever comes or leaves the city. Deity's Gate. Fu Chen was stunned. But Hu Qing is not Deity's Gate master. He has only just possessed Zhu Luo's body. Feng Ruqing's eyes darkened slightly. I did not destroy Deity's Gate in the first place to draw Hu Qing out, but I didn't expect that Hu Qing would recover this quickly and make a move on Qing Han. Feng Ruqing had not seen Hu Qing since the other day, but she knew that this guy would not give up on her and would come back to cause trouble. Therefore, she had left Deity's Gate only to facilitate the search for Hu Qing's whereabouts. Hu Qing would take advantage of Deity's Gate as he needed an identity and some men to help him. Therefore, she had asked the generals in the Imperial City to keep an eye on the people from Deity's Gate during this period. Me for extra chapters. It seemed that Hu Qing did not know how to enter Luoyuan Kingdom, so he had taken Qing Han away with him. However, Hu Qing had strength that deity's gate might not have. As a precaution, she still had to send the spirit beasts to guard the city gates. Qing Han had already been captured, so she could not let anyone get hurt again.
Howl.
The snow wolf immediately straightened its back like a proud warrior as it finally felt that it was useful to his master.
Boom.
Foam Ruching suddenly smashed a nearby tree violently. The tree fell to the ground, sending dust floating everywhere. The snow wolf was shocked and stared at Foam Ruching blankly. Hu Qing. Foam Ruching raised her head, her hair floating in the wind. Her eyes were cold, domineering. I don't care what deep hatred he harbors for the Ninth Emperor. I don't care what the Ninth Emperor had done to him back then. I won't be giving him a chance to leave if he dares to touch my people. Perhaps considering that Fu Chun was still behind her, she restrained her anger, not letting out her rage. The darkness in her eyes had faded, and she became calm as before. Fu Chun, you go and take a rest first. I trust Nan Xian, and you have to trust him too. Fu Chen's heart gradually calmed down. He nodded. All right. Chapter 1392. Wedding Eve 6. As his words fell, Foam Ruching had already left, not giving him another chance to speak. In 5 days, it would be her and Nan Xian's wedding ceremony. Nan Xian was not in the imperial city, and Hu Qing would not appear now. Then, there would surely be someone from Deity's Gate coming for her. She could not chase after Nan Xian, and she must stay and guard Luoyuan Kingdom for her family here. 5 days seemed to pass like flowing water. It was as if what had happened on that day in the imperial city had been forgotten and was never mentioned again. Everything was going just as planned, and those who came to attend the wedding ceremony had arrived in Luoyuan Kingdom one after another. However, there was silence inside the princess manor, and even the spirit beasts rarely made any sound. The bed curtain in the guest room was as bright as the red blood. Foam Chin stood behind, quietly looking at the young girl in front of him. He seemed somewhat worried. Qing Qing. The young man's voice was as clear as spring water flowed through Foam Rooking's heart, causing her heart to shake gradually. She slowly turned around and faced Foam Chin, standing at the door, with a sweet smile on her stunning face. Her smile was absolutely beautiful. Chainer, how did you get here? Foam Chen's gaze was filled with complex emotions. Tomorrow is your wedding ceremony. But he's not back yet. It's fine. Foam Ruching smiled faintly. I believe the state preceptor will return. And she paused for a moment and continued, no matter what, the wedding ceremony must go on as planned. Perhaps Foam Ruching would not have cared so much if the guests had not arrived yet. She knew that Hu Qing would not be that easy. He would definitely have another move to make. Since the state preceptor had stepped out for her, she must guard this place. Let him have no worries. Me for extra chapters. Chainer, father and mother are also worried about this matter these past few days. So you go and calm them down first then. I still have a lot of things to do. All right. The young man's eyes were clear, and his smile was as bright as the morning light. Qing Qing, if you're willing to believe in someone, I'll believe in him too. And I am willing to accept the one that you love, even though I am so sad to let you go. Even if, in this life, I can only stay by your side as your younger brother. As long as you are safe and happy for the rest of your life, that's enough for me. Chainer. Foam Ruching stepped forward and gently embraced Foam Chin. Foam Chin raised his hand and placed it on the young girl's back. Qing Qing, these days, I still have the same dream that I have had before. I always feel that we've experienced countless hardships together. I've traveled the distance to this world to find you, but it doesn't matter, as long as you're still here. That's enough. The pain of losing her in his dream was too much for him to bear any longer. Chainer, you still haven't recalled? Foam Ruching looked up at Foam Chun in surprise. Foam Chin seemed a little confused.
What?
Foam Ruching was slightly startled. She shook her head and smiled. Nothing. You don't have to think about it too much if you can't recall it. Those dreams don't need to be taken too seriously. No matter what has happened, as long as we stay together in this life, that's enough. Chapter 1393. Wedding Eve 7. Her only regret back then was that Cheer was not her biological brother. They were only closer than brother and sister. Luckily, in this life, her wish had come true. She felt so great. You go find father and mother. I need to prepare for tomorrow's wedding ceremony. Foam Ruching loosened her embrace and smiled at Foam Chin. All right. Foam Chin smiled faintly. If he doesn't come back tomorrow, I'll go and get him back for you. Ching Ching, I will feel more at ease if you are happy. He was willing to protect her as always, only wishing to see her smile for her whole life. Foam Chin turned around and walked out. The bed curtain in the room danced with the wind, and she was the only one left in the silence. 10 miles of road would be decorated with red when the Emperor's daughter was getting married. Moreover, the man she married was the young master of the Mu family of Tianshan Manor. Therefore, Foam Tianyu had prepared a lot of bridal gifts in return. The long sedan chairs were enough to carry the bride from the princess manor to the palace. Nan Xian was not here, so no one would pick up the sedan chair. Besides, Foam Ruching did not marry in the princess manor as she had already stayed in the palace the night before the wedding ceremony. The two little girls, Qing Ling and Lu Li, had been crying. Their eyes were red. Lu Li could still control her sadness, while Qing Ling always looked like she was about to cry even more. Princess, Qing Ling bit her handkerchief pitifully and cried. I've been following Princess since she was a child. I did not expect Princess to be married this soon. I still want to follow and serve Princess for the rest of my life. The iron-blooded gate was not a place she could stay in. She still preferred to be a servant and work for people. Foam Ruching wore a heavy phoenix crown on her head and a glittering robe that was so bright and stunning. She was silent for a moment and shook her head. No, you can't come with me. Why? Qing Ling's voice cracked. Is it because Princess doesn't like me anymore? No. Foam Ruching thought for a while before continuing. The state preceptor doesn't seem to like you guys. This girl was soft and cute, but she was not more beautiful than the state preceptor, who was her favorite beauty. Qing Ling and Lu Li were speechless. Me for extra chapters. It's that bastard again. The princess has changed since that bastard came. Qinger. Nailin Yen suddenly walked in through the door. She looked at Foam Ruching and smiled. It is almost time. When will Nan Xian returns? She was reluctant to let his daughter get married, but now so many important guests had come. Her daughter would feel embarrassed if Nan Xian did not appear. Foam Ruching raised her head, looked into the mirror, and smiled faintly. Since the state preceptor said he would appear, I'll just wait for him. Moreover, this wedding ceremony was not destined to be peaceful. City Gate. The Nailin family's generals all straightened their backs and calmly stood outside the city gates. Directly in front of those generals was a group of spirit beasts that were under scrutiny. A domineering snow wolf led these spirit beasts. Roar. Beery leaned next to the snow wolf and growled lowly. Do you think those people from Deity's Gate will still show up? Chapter 1394. Wedding Eve 8. The snow wolf frowned and raised its chin proudly. Howl. That group of bastards has already submitted their defeat to me and doesn't dare to appear. As soon as it thought of that, a sharp arrow cut through the endless sky and moved straight at the snow wolf. The snow wolf's ears moved as if it had sensed something. The moment it turned back, the long arrow was already in front of it. It was so in shock that it held its head and crouched down, wishing to hide in the ground. Poof! The arrow pierced some part of the snow wolf's body. It let out a heart-wrenching howl and bounced up with tears on its eyes. Roar! The bear was anxious. It turned around to look at the man who stood on his steed with a light of murderous intent in his eyes. On top of the steed, everyone was dressed in blue, and their leader was a young man. This man's energy was as vigorous as thunder. The dust flew up everywhere behind him as he stepped on the ground. The snow wolf had a hard time pulling out the sharp arrow. Its eyes were red, it was angry and felt humiliated, staring at the group of people who were calling out to it. The Nalan family's generals had drawn out their swords. They looked cold and serious. Their eyes were filled with alarm as they slowly closed the gate behind them. Imperial City Street. Tan Shuang stood among the crowd. Her hair was messy, and she looked tired. Her eyes were fixed upon the sedan chairs on the street, filled with jealousy. 2 years ago, everyone had hated Feng Ruqing even though she was a noble princess, and Tan Shuang was the most excellent person in Luoyuan Kingdom. In a short time, Feng Ruqing had already become the center of attention, but Tan Shuang
was in such a mess.
She hated this. Me for extra chapters. Tan Shuang clenched her fists tightly. Her terrifying eyes were filled with jealousy that was enough to incinerate her. At this moment, a voice suddenly came from behind Tan Shuang, causing her body to stiffen slightly. Are you unhappy? Unhappy that you will always be under her feet? Tan Shuang clenched hard her fists as she slowly turned back to look at the person who was talking to her. It was a middle-aged man of around 40, dressed in a silk robe. If Nan Xian were here, he would recognize this middle-aged man who had met him outside the Princess Manor 5 days ago. This man had been wandering around Luoyuan Kingdom since that day. I can help you. The middle-aged man moved closer to Tan Shuang. And this is your only chance. Tan Shuang was a little nervous. How can you help me? You're Mu Ling's concubine, the middle-aged man sneered. What would happen if the world knew that Mu Ling's concubine had slept with Master Nan Xian of the Mu family? Do you think Feng Ruqing will be happy about this? Tan Shuang smiled mockingly. Feng Ruqing trusts Nan Xian very much. Do you think she will believe it if you say that to her? I don't care if she believes it or not. I want to make her and Nan Xian embarrassed in public. Besides, Nan Xian will not appear today because my master has already taken him away. Tan Shuang was shocked. She had not left Lu Manor for a few days. Moreover, the incident that happened 5 days ago had been covered up, so it was only now that she knew Nan Xian would not attend the wedding ceremony. Chapter 1395. An incident in the wedding ceremony. Who are you? Tan Shuang clenched her fists nervously as she took a few steps back. I am a guardian of Deity's Gate. My master and Feng Ruqing are enemies, the middle-aged man said expressionlessly. Tan Shuang was still a little confused. If it were indeed an unholy enemy, he would not only destroy Feng Ruqing's wedding ceremony and ruin her reputation. Such a punishment was too light for Feng Ruqing. Does your master only want to ruin the wedding ceremony? Tan Shuang bit her lip with reluctance on her face. After all, Feng Ruqing Maiden Tan, it's enough for you to do as my master tells you to do. The middle-aged man slowly walked toward Tan Shuang. His gaze was indifferent, looking at Tan Shuang as if he was looking at a mole without any emotion. If you don't want to, I can always find someone else. And the middle-aged man suddenly laughed in a ghastly manner. A person who doesn't obey my master's orders. Do you think our deity's gate will let her go? He would not let Tan Shuang leave if she refused to do what he wanted. Tan Shuang was startled after listening to the middle-aged man's words and took a few steps back. You do not only want me to ruin the wedding ceremony, right? What the hell are you doing? I'm not going to do that. I'm jealous of Feng Ruqing and hate her so much, but I don't want to risk my life to do something like this. Please let me go, Tan Shuang panicked. She hated Feng Ruqing, and the thought of ruining her wedding ceremony made her heart flutter, but she was not dumb this time. She did not want to get any trouble again. That woman, Feng Ruqing, was not something that ordinary people could deal with. She was already miserable enough, and did not want to become more miserable. The middle-aged man's eyes turned cold. You think you have the right to go against me? Tan Shuang, my master's tactics may not be clear to you. If you don't agree, we can find someone else, but you'll definitely end up worse than dead. Tan Shuang was stiff and shivering. Her pale face had lost all its color. This time, she finally regretted it. Why had she gone to the Mu family with Mu Ling in the first place? Me for extra chapters. Why did she have to provoke her over and over again when it was obvious that Feng Ruqing had already ignored her? Now, she had to face such a miserable end. As she thought about it, she realized that Feng Ruqing had never intended to deal with them. She had submitted herself to Lu Fuyong and lived a comfortable life even after the disaster that had happened to the Tan family. Lady Lu had given her too much trouble, but there was still Lu Fuyong who would always defend her. She was the one who had given up on a good life and ended up in such a miserable situation. Unfortunately, she would never get another chance. On a hill outside the imperial city, the disheveled old man was carrying a little girl in his hands. He raised his hand to wipe the blood from the corner of his mouth and looked at Nan Xian mockingly. Today should be the wedding ceremony of you and the 9th emperor. The man's robe was as white as snow, untainted by dust. His gaze was cold, like the moon and the early snow of winter, as he stared at the old man in front of him. A powerful force suddenly surged. All the surrounding leaves flew into the air and were caught in the wind, blasting toward the old man. Chapter 1396. An incident in the wedding ceremony 2. Hu Qing froze. That bastard had chased him all the way, and he was not even tired of it. But there was no more time to think about it. Hu Qing quickly leaped into the void and dodged Nan Xian's attack. The 9th emperor deserved all this humiliation. Besides, those people from Deity's Gate have already arrived in Luoyuan Kingdom. And, this time, you'll lose her forever. Ha ha ha. That bastard, the 9th emperor, had snatched so many girls around him back then. It had been so embarrassing for him to face it. Today, he wanted to return all the pain he had suffered to her.
No.
That was not enough. He would make Feng Ruqing lose the ones that she loved, and he would also make sure that all the women in this world would never love her again. He gritted his teeth in hatred as he thought about how much those people in Luoyuan Kingdom loved Feng Ruqing. He was the one in the center of attention before Feng Ruqing's appearance, and it was Feng Ruqing who had taken away the spotlight that belonged to him. Now he would get them all back. The man walked toward Hu Qing. The wind around him grew stronger with each step he took. His hair danced wildly in the wind, and his face was as stunningly beautiful as the bright moon. I promised her that I would bring Qing Han back with me on the wedding day. And now, Nan Xian looked up, expressionless. There's still some time, boom. The powerful energy surged up fiercely, making the world appear gloomy. The bright moon had lost its color, and the wind carried a bone-piercing chill like a sharp knife. There are still 2 hours left before the wedding ceremony. I can still make it if I rush back now. He had to go back, not only because this wedding ceremony was something he dreamed of, but also because the girl he loved the most in his life was still waiting for him in Luoyuan Kingdom. At the same time, in Paramount, the man in the bed slowly opened his eyes. His face was handsome, and his pair of eyes were filled with an evil, cold light. Slowly he stood up from the bed and stepped out of the room. His hair fluttered in the wind, and his evil face carried a coldness as he walked out of the room. Master, me for extra chapters. The housekeeper was surprised to see Jiuming coming out of the room and hurriedly called him out. As if he did not hear it, Jiuming passed by the housekeeper, without even looking at him. The housekeeper was stunned. His eyes blank with shock as he somehow felt that there was something different about his master after he woke up. However, he had no idea what that was. At the city gate, black smoke rose, and blood stained the ancient street, that even the sun in the sky appeared red. The imperial cities had dispatched their people to a safer place. The beasts led the Nalan family's generals in a rush to kill the group of people in front of them. The enemy's men somehow were increasing, but the people who were guarding the city's gates no longer had much energy left. Suddenly, a mocking laugh came from somewhere. Since when did the people of Deity's Gate start to ignore the rules? You have even brought your men to kill the commoners in the secular world. Gusher stood calmly in the air with one hand behind his back. He smiled coldly as he looked down at the crowd that was still fighting and killing. The young man who was leading the fight raised his hand to stop his men and said coldly, "My grandfather has become more powerful now, so our deity's gate is no longer what it once was. The world will be afraid of us after we have enough strength, so why should we fear those rules? Chapter 1397. An Incident in the Wedding Ceremony 3, Hee. Gushir laughed out calmly. That bastard Joe, you didn't even dare to come out, hiding inside deity's gate and sending you out. Do you think your deity's gate would really have this kind of strength? Jiu Shan's face darkened. Whether we have the strength or not, you'll find out later. Shortly after, a few skilled masters emerged from behind Jiu Shan and stood in the void. The energy that surged out from them was so powerful that it could catch one's breath in the throat. Gushir looked at the skilled masters and stood calmly. Even though he was facing several skilled masters alone, he was still as calm as ever and did not retreat. Maiden Feng has asked me to come and guard this place. She knew that there would be some skilled masters coming from your deity's gate. Maiden Feng trusts me so much, so I can't let her down. Gushir took 2 steps forward. His voice was loud and clear. Behind him were tens of thousands of people from Lu Yun Kingdom. The people from Deity's Gate could not be trusted. Once they were allowed to step inside, not only would they injure the innocent, but even the tens of thousands of people within the Imperial City would be slaughtered, without leaving a single one behind. Deity's Gate hated Feng Ruching, so they were capable of such things. Feng Ruching had asked Gushir to stay here and protect this land for her. Attack. Jiu Shan waved his hand and said coldly, kill all people who have any relationship with Lu Yun Kingdom. They will all be buried here. Someone had already leaped forward. Gushir raised his sword and slashed the person who was heading toward him. His face was fearless and calm as ever. Blood stained the sword in his hand, and there was a cut on his shoulder, but he ignored the pain and continued fighting in the crowd. Someone had tried to sneak behind Gushir to attack him. Gushir was unable to deal with the person in front of him, so he deliberately exposed his shoulder in front of that man to save his life. Me for extra chapters. The man did not manage to slash Gushir as his sword slipped away and cut the person who was just behind Gushir, leaving countless bloody marks. Suddenly, a teenager of about 10 years old appeared in the void. The young man was tall, and his robes appeared somewhat small and too fit, not even covering his arms and knees. Gushir turned around and saw the teenager standing in the void. He was stunned for a moment, but fortunately, he was somewhat used to it these days and quickly recognized the teenager. Young Master Fu Chen, did Maiden Feng send you here? Fu Chen nodded slightly. She was worried, so she let me help. I won't allow anyone to step forward. No one can ruin Mother's wedding ceremony. Nan Xian would return with Qinghan. All he could do now was to stop all these enemies from entering Lu Yun Kingdom. Master Gu, why did you run so fast? I was just trying to catch up with you just now. Another old laughter was heard within the crowd. Gushir squinted and saw an old man stepping out of the city gate. Master Mu, why did you come out? I can't attend my grandson and granddaughter's wedding ceremony. But it doesn't matter. There's still going to be a big ceremony when I return to Mu Manor later. There's no need for me to attend today, because what's more important today is for my granddaughter-in-law to hold her wedding without any worries. It was the only thing he could do for them. Chapter 1398. The wedding day. The old Master Mu stood with one hand behind his back. His face darkened, and his eyes were filled with murderous intent. The enemies had already rushed over. Their murderous aura was surging, and the blood flowed in the air for a long time. In an ancient street not far away, a dog barked loudly, causing the entire world to tremble with fear. Everyone turned around and saw a group of spirit beasts coming through the dark smoke, spreading out everywhere. Everyone stared at them in disbelief. It was a group of spirit beasts that were united. A yellow-haired wolfhound led these spirit beasts. It bared its teeth fiercely and moved as fast as the wind, instantly pouncing toward the enemies. The people of Deity's Gate regained their senses. Suddenly, a huge ear rolled over, tripped them, and made them fall to the ground before they could dodge it. A giant rabbit had appeared from the sky and crushed the man so hard that he spat out a mouthful of blood. You guys, Gusher was stunned as he looked at the group of spirit beasts that were rushing toward Deity's Gate's men. After all, these spirit beasts were unfamiliar here, so he did not understand why they were willing to help them. It was not just Gusher who was curious, even the others were a bit confused. But before they could voice out their question, they saw a familiar figure coming out of that group of spirit beasts. The snow wolf's eyes widened, and it could not take its eyes off of the three-striped tiger as it watched the tiger walk out of the group of spirit beasts. Beery gave a low growl. Roar! Isn't that your son's mother? Why did she show up with a bunch of strange beasts? The snow wolf's face changed dramatically. That little tiger was given to it by its master, and it was forced to be a father. But would any beast believe it if it said so? Me for extra chapters.
Howl.
The snow wolf howled lowly, as if it was asking why the three-striped tiger had appeared today. Was she not in the beast forest? Even though Big Black, who was the beast king of the beast forest, had left, the three-striped tiger had stayed in the beast forest to guard their home. She would not easily leave the forest even if she missed her son. The snow wolf never thought that she would appear here today. And this group of spirit beasts was obviously not from the beast forest.
Who were they?
The three-striped tiger did not explain much as she bared her ferocious teeth and bit the neck of the man who rushed toward her. Blood flowed down his neck, and the man slowly stopped breathing. Imperial Palace. Lights were displayed everywhere, gongs and drums were played, and the atmosphere was joyous. The Imperial Palace today was filled with people from the major forces from all over the mainland. These people all stood silent in the palace. Foam Tianyu and Nalan Yen were seated together on a high seat. In front of him were the people from the Mu family of Tianshan Manor. Because the old master of the Mu family was not present, Mu Qingyin took his place and stood beside Sui, witnessing the wedding ceremony as an elder of the family. The entire palace was decorated in bright red. But the couple did not even appear for a long time. Some people among the crowd could not hold back anymore as they began to mutter among themselves. Chapter 1399. The wedding day too, it's almost time. Why haven't the princess and the state preceptor shown up yet? Could it be that this wedding is already cancelled? I heard that a few days ago, the state preceptor went to look for someone, but I couldn't find out the details even after several inquiries. But now it seems, could it be that the state preceptor has changed his mind at the last minute and fled with another woman? Impossible. The state preceptor loves the princess. How could he have run away on their wedding day? Moreover, the princess is an excellent woman. If the state preceptor disappoints the princess, I'm afraid countless men and women in this world will not let go of this opportunity to win the prince's heart. These people had deliberately lowered their voices, but did they not know that the people present were not ordinary humans? No matter how low their voices were, they were still clear to the ears. Foam Tianyu remained calm and expressionless. On the contrary, Sui's face was a bit colder. She glared coldly at those people who were muttering among themselves. My daughter-in-law is so excellent that not only men would want to marry her, even the girls would also be so crazy about her. Her son was so lucky to get Feng Ruqing. But if Qing'er ran away, she would find these people to settle the score with them. Who allowed them judge people's life? Your Majesty. Eunuch Lin slowly walked up to Foam Tianyu and bowed respectfully. It is almost time, but Princess, Foam Tianyu raised his hand, stopping Eunuch Lin from continuing. He raised his eyes slightly and stared ahead. The man's cold and stern face faded away for a moment. Everyone looked sideways. Their eyes showed obvious astonishment when they saw a fluttering figure that entered the hall. The woman was dressed in a bright red dress. She looked so elegant and majestic. She was not covered with a wedding veil, and even the phoenix crown on her head had been taken off. She was only lightly powdered, with gorgeous red lips and a stunning smile. Everything in heaven and earth paled in comparison. She was the brightest color in the palace. Her beautiful hair and red dress were fluttering with the wind. She wore a simple hairpin on her head, which looked fresh and lovely. A beautiful young man stood behind Feng me for extra chapters. He was tall and handsome. He smiled faintly as his eyes were fixed upon the woman in front of him. "Qing, are you?" Feng Tianyu was startled. Before he could even wait for him to ask the question, Feng Ruqing smiled and said, "No need to blame the girls. It's me who doesn't like to be too grand, just keep it simple." Feng Tianyu did not say anything after hearing her words. He looked at the sky and frowned slightly. The auspicious time is almost up, and that brat has not returned yet. Feng Ruqing smiled faintly. She was not as overbearing as she was before. Her smile was as gentle as the spring breeze. "It's all right. Every moment will be auspicious as long as I can marry the state preceptor and stay by his side forever." So, what if I miss the auspicious time? The state preceptor had promised her that he would bring Qing Han back as soon as possible. Then, she would wait for him here until he appeared. Sui smiled faintly. She looked at Feng Ruqing gently, and even her words were soft and sweet. "Qing'er, Nan Xian will not disappoint you. He will be back soon." Chapter 1400. The wedding day 3. He would never forget the promise that he had made to her. Feng Ruqing smiled sweetly. The smile paled all things in heaven and earth in comparison. It was so beautiful. "I trust him. I will wait for him." A few years ago, within the southern bamboo grove, a glimpse of the man had made her fall for him. That was why she had improved herself to be a perfect match for him. Just at this moment, someone with a sneer came in from outside the palace. How can Master Nan Xian of Tianshan Manor get married without inviting Deity's Gate? The hall was quiet. All eyes had turned toward the door as they stared at the man in disbelief. Sui's face darkened, and her eyes turned cold. After she had married Mu Ling back then, she dealt with the 3 major forces, so she immediately recognized the middle-aged man walking through the door. The middle-aged man smiled sardonically as if he was mocking her. However, Sui's face grew colder as she saw the woman who followed behind the middle-aged man. She probably knew that the other people present did not know the middle-aged man from Deity's Gate, so she deliberately lowered her voice and spoke coldly. "Yi, Deity's Gate's Grand Elder. He looks like a 40-years-old man, but actually, he's already 70 or 80. Ye sneered. "Young Lady Mu, I haven't seen you for over 20 years. I didn't expect you to still remember me. I feel honored. And I didn't expect that the wedding of the Mu family's grandson, Nan Xian, would be held in Fengyan Manor." The Mu family had no problem with Feng Tianyu presiding the wedding ceremony. After all, they were delighted to have Feng Ruqing in their family. Moreover, the old master and Sui were not people who cared about these things. As long as the family was harmonious, they would not overthink it. Me for extra chapters. Anyway, the old master was not able to come and participate in the ceremony, so he would hold the ceremony again after they returned to Mu Manor. Naturally, they were with it. Mu Qingjian's eyes sank slightly. He coldly scanned Tan Shuangshuang standing next to Yi and said indifferently, "Anyone can hold the wedding ceremony as he or she wished. Our Mu family doesn't care about so many rules." "Is that so?" Yi smiled faintly. "If your Mu family doesn't care, does it mean that the people in Luyan Kingdom also don't care that the groom can't appear today?" The crowd was in an uproar. Only a few people knew about what had happened on the streets that day. Some had only heard some vague rumors, and some still did not know what had actually happened. However, now that they had heard Yi's words, their hearts were shaken, and their eyes were fixed upon Yi as if they were waiting for an answer. Feng Tianyu's face was cold and stern, and his eyes were as sharp as a sword as they stared at Yi coldly. He did not say anything, but the murderous intent in his eyes reflected his feelings at the moment. Nailin Yen, however, did not falter as she smiled gently. "My child is missing, so the state preceptor has gone to look for her. He might be a little late today, but the wedding ceremony will go on as planned. So you and your deity's gate don't have to worry about this." "Oh," Yi laughed mockingly. I'm afraid that he'll never come back. Chapter 1401. The wedding day, for he would never come back. Yi Yi's words were like a rock that struck the crowd, causing an endless stir. An old minister in the crowd was worried as he said, "Your Majesty, what is going on here? Now is the auspicious time for the wedding. Why hasn't the state preceptor returned yet?" The others also looked at each other. The quiet crowd started to be noisy after hearing the old minister's words. The state preceptor is supposed to be here now. If he has not returned by now, today's wedding ceremony might be cancelled. Of course, he won't be back. Yi stepped forward slowly with a cold, stern face. He's too embarrassed to come back. Foam Ruching remained silent. She looked calm, without any emotion, as she stared at Yi. Yi continued, "This lady, do you all know her?" The crowd turned to Tan Shuangshuang, who was standing next to Yi. Tan Shuangshuang's face turned pale. Her body was trembling slightly as she bit her lip hard to suppress the fear within her. Tan Shuangshuang's. The old minister was stunned. He looked surprised. Isn't this girl the previous grand tutor's daughter, Tan Shuangshuang? Her father's already been deposed. What's she doing here? She has no business being here. Tan Shuangshuang lowered her eyes and clenched her fists tightly. A few years ago, she and Lu Yuchen were the young talented, perfect couple in Lu Yun Kingdom. People had always praised and admired her.
But now,
they said that she had no right to be here. That left her heart cold, dark, and lonely. As if Yi Yi had not seen Tan Shuangshuang's expression, he smirked and said, "If Tan Shuangshuang does not have the right, then who does? The people of the Mu family should probably know who she is." Yi Yi's gaze fell on Sui. His eyes were dark and cold. Back then, he had fallen in love with a girl and wanted to bring her back as a concubine. If it were not for this nosy woman, maybe he would have been able to keep that girl. Me for extra chapters. Sui had ruined his good fortune. He wanted to take revenge, but she ended up becoming the lady of Tianshan Manor. Deity's Gate and Tianshan Manor were both part of 3 major forces, so they could not start any fight. Therefore, he could only swallow his anger. Fortunately, he had a chance now. Sui once ruined his plan to get that girl as his concubine, so now he would not let her son have a wife. Mu Qingjian's eyes were cold and sunken. He was about to speak, but Sui had raised her hand, stopping him. "Of course, I know her." Sui's gaze fell on Tan Shuangshuang, expressionless. She was pregnant with someone else's child, framed Mu Ling, and became Mu Ling's concubine. How could I not know her? She used to always start a fight with my Qinger. Now what? You found out that Nan Xian will marry Qinger, so you deliberately bring this guy as a gift to Qinger? Sui paused and smiled faintly. But there's no need for that. My Qinger has always been good-tempered and won't be too bothered by Tan Shuangshuang. The Mu family has also returned her to Lu Fuyong so that her child can live with her real father. The officers of Lu Yun Kingdom were all stunned by Sui's words. They looked at Tan Shuangshuang in disbelief, somewhat speechless. It was not strange if an old man could have a young concubine. But this Tan Shuangshuang was once Lu Yuchen's woman. The father slept with his son's woman, and this woman had also framed the Mu family of Tianshan Manor. The world is such a mess. Chapter 1402. The wedding day. Tan Shuangshuang felt that all of her secrets were revealed in front of the crowd. She was so ashamed that she wanted to leave, but she did not dare take a step back as Yi Yi was still standing next to her. "Oh," Yi Yi sneered. "Lady Sui, I'm afraid that Tan Shuangshuang's relationship with your Mu family is more than that. As far as I know, after she became Mu Ling's concubine, she had not only an affair with Mu Qingyin but also Mu Nanxian." Tan Shuangshuang instantly lifted her head and looked at Yi Yi with a pale face. Her body was trembling hard. Sui had revealed her relationship with Lu Fuyong and Mu Ling. Tan Shuangshuang could not believe that Yi Yi would still talk about this. He had clearly said that they came here only to embarrass Nanxian, So why did he still drag her into it? In this case, what would the world say about her? The once great maiden Tan had become a slut? Tan Shuang's face grew paler. Lord Yi glared at her coldly. His gaze was like a poisonous snake, wrapping around Tan Shuang's neck, choking her and making her no longer able to say any word. Nailin Yen stood up angrily. Her cold and stern gaze fell on the few people who were sitting in front of her. The coldness in his eyes was even more intense than before. Sui looked calm, and her expression had not changed much. But her clenched fists were trembling, thus showing that she was enraged. Sui, Foam Ruching patted Sui's hand gently and cast a comforting glance toward Nailin Yen. She then turned to Tan Shuang and smiled sweetly. You framed Mu Ling as your daughter's father, and now you want to drag Nan Xian and the Mu family's second uncle into this mess? No, it's not like that. Tan Shuang felt choked, and her body trembled hard. This was not even something she planned to do. She hated Foam Ruching, but she only harbored the hatred in her heart. At most, she could only curse her secretly, but no longer dared to stand up and make a public enemy of her. Me for extra chapters. However, Tan Shuang profoundly understood that she had already offended Foam Ruching. And if she denied everything right now, Yi would definitely not let her go. As he had said, he came today just to ruin these people's reputation. It did not matter if the woman he brought was her or not. Even without her, he could still find another one. And she would definitely end up worse than dead. Tan Shuang took a deep breath, forcing herself to compose her emotions. She then looked at Foam Ruching and smiled mockingly. The man you think you are deeply in love with has long been married to me. All the men in the Mu family are the same. Mu Ling can't resist my temptation, neither Mu Qingyin nor Mu Nanxian. Foam Ruching, do you know why Nanxian won't show up today? He's not looking for someone. He ran away from the altar today because he didn't want to break my heart. She did not care if Foam Ruching believed it or not. She just needed the world to believe it. She wanted the world to see this pair of immortal lovers was nothing to be impressed about. As expected, the sinister gaze wrapped around her just now had disappeared when she said these words. Yi smiled with satisfaction. Our deity's gate has always liked to do good deeds. So when we heard about Tan Shuang's matter, we brought her to Lu Yun Kingdom. Maiden Foam, my master said that you would never have someone who truly loves you in your life. Chapter 1403. The wedding day Foam Ruching was dressed in a red wedding dress, looking at Yi calmly, devoid of any emotion. Gate master? She walked slowly toward Yi and Tan Shuang. Are you talking about Jiuluo or Hu Qing? Yi was stunned. He was obviously a little unresponsive and did not understand what Foam Ruing meant by that. But he quickly came back to his senses and spoke with a cold smile. Great wits have short memories. It seems that Maiden Foam is so forgetful that she doesn't even remember my master's name. Nan Xian has bullied his concubine's father, and you, also not a good woman, have seduced my deity's gate young master Jiuming. The two of you are really perfect for each other. Foam Ruching slowly held out her hand, and a long sword appeared in the palm. Her dress fluttered in the light breeze. Her vivid red dress was as bright as blood, breathtakingly beautiful. Tan Shuang raised her eyes and met the girl's glance. She clutched her palm tightly as she took a few steps back. Suddenly, a sword light flashed past, and Tan Shuang was so shocked that she quickly blocked it with her hand. The sword light sliced through her arm. Blood oozed out, and the stinging turned her face pale with pain. Her body trembled slightly. It was unclear whether it was from pain or panic. This is for your son. He's young and innocent. You have used him to frame and to get close to Mu Ling. Now, when the child is useless to you, you abandon him. Tan Shuang's body trembled harder, and her eyes were filled with panic.
No.
It wasn't me. It was Lu Fuyong who threw him out. I can't even protect myself, let alone that child. So, Feng Ruching looked at Tan Shuang coldly. You allowed a foolish child to wander around alone? And you dumped him in a place like the beast forest? If it wasn't because all those beasts have stopped eating meat, do you think the boy would have lived? Feng Ruching was never one to meddle in other people's business. However, for extra chapters. It was Tan Shuang who started it first, allowing her a reason and excuse to retaliate against Tan Shuang. This slash is for the Mu family that you've made a mess of. Initially, Feng Ruching did not like the Mu family. But now, all the people that she hated had left. Naturally, she was not disgusted by the current members of the Mu family. This slash is for Nan Xian. You almost shoved a brother with no bloodline to him into the Mu family. Another sword fell, and Tan Shuang's face was as bloody as it could be. Her eyes were overflowing with fear, and she actually felt so isolated for the first time in front of so many people. And this slash is for those flowers and plants that you have hurt. At first, those people thought that Feng Ruching was kind and only attacked her to avenge the child that Tan Shuang had abandoned back then. It was not until this last sentence had fallen that they had finally understood. She just needed an excuse to make a move on Tan Shuang. Seeing Tan Shuang's bloodied appearance, everyone's hearts could not help but tremble in fear, but no one was sympathetic toward her. After all, Feng Ruching had spared her countless times, but she still came back every single time. How could Feng Ruching tolerate her over and over again when she was also a human being who had limits to her patience? This last slash, Feng Ruching paused for a moment and continued, You are the one who has ruined the state preceptor's reputation. Chapter 1404. No one can ruin his reputation. She would never allow anyone to ruin the state preceptor's reputation. Yi stood aside calmly and did not go to stop Feng Ruching. It seemed that he was happy to see her reaction. Tan Shuang was frightened as she looked at Feng Ruching, who was approaching her. She wanted to speak but found that she could no longer make the slightest sound in her throat. Fear had permeated her entire heart. Maiden Feng is actually a jealous woman. Just because you're not happy with your husband, who has run away from the wedding, you are trying to harm an innocent woman. When Feng Ruching started to approach Tan Shuang, Yi finally opened his mouth and said with a cold smile on his face, So, today, Deity's Gate is here to stand up for the righteousness of this world. You are so arrogant that human life is nothing in your eyes. Deity's Gate did not make any move as we did not know about this back then. But if I had known, I would never sit idly by. Tan Shuang's body stiffened. She dropped her eyes, the pain so intense that she could not say a word. But she was no fool. She already understood everything after she heard Yi's words. Deity's Gate was not just here to ruin the wedding. Actually, they wanted to make Feng Ruching look bad in front of many people. Deity's Gate could immediately kill this annoying woman in the name of justice. After all, in Songyu mainland, men were superior to women. Even though some women were powerful, in the hearts of all men, it was common to have many wives and concubines. And if a woman were jealous, she would be hated by everyone. But did the people of Deity's Gate not make any inquiries before they came here? Feng Ruching's father had spoiled her for more than 20 years. Feng Ruching acted in an overbearing manner, but how many would dare say anything about it? It seemed that the Deity's Gate's plan was unattainable. It was as if Yi had already seen the eyes of those people looking at Feng Ruching with such disdain and disgust inside the palace. A little girl. So, what if she is powerful? Being a jealous woman, she is destined to be hated by people. For extra chapters. The Gate Master had said that if he were to make a move against Luyun Kingdom, he would definitely make Feng Ruching look bad in front of people first. Deity's Gate was righteous enough to stand up for the people. Of course, the wrongs you have done are not only that. You have killed countless people who were going to become Nan Xian's concubines when you were in Tianshan Manor back then. You relied on Nan Suyi's favor. You have Gusher's support and ignored Nan Xian's attempts to stop you from committing this crime. Your future husband can't stand you anymore, and it's normal to run away from being married to you for that reason. I came here today to seek justice for those innocent women you've killed. Luoyun Kingdom is genocidal. Such a kingdom and such an emperor should not exist in this world. Our gate master is so kind, and he cannot see such a scourge exist, which is why he specifically sent us here. As soon as Yi's words fell, boundless energy came from the sky outside the palace. The energy was extremely powerful. It was definitely above Holy Warrior tier. Holy Warriors? Those in the secular world had never seen a holy warrior, but those from the reclusive world had seen a lot more. Their faces turned pale when they noticed the energy. They had only come to attend a wedding ceremony, so why would so many things happen? Besides, why was there such a large number of holy warriors in this mainland? And they were all from Deity's Gate. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.